Do you like wrestling? Do you ever watch wrestling?
No. Nope.
And The Rock said, whoa, 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 because I'm still standing here, custom made, brother. Woo! And I mean custom made, from the alligators to the Ole Cassini right here, Ric Flair. There's only one.
We're not the kind of guys that say, we told you so, but we told you so.
Yeah, no thank you from the Young Bucks.
Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman.
You know who I am.
What's up, gang? Welcome to Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman, the podcast that breaks down the biggest stories in and out of the ring. I am your host. My name is Mike Wellman. Thank you for hitting that play button. We appreciate you here, as always. And this is episode 60 of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. On this episode, we are going to be recapping the debut episode of AEW Collision, that counterfeit promo from CM Punk and the trios match in the main event. And war has come to the island of relevancy. The Bloodline Civil War match is set after another great segment from the Bloodline on Smackdown, which we're going to talk about. We are also going to preview Forbidden Door. This weekend, AEW and New Japan are putting on the second Forbidden Door show. Omega, Ospreay, Okada, Danielson, Ricky Dozan, Onoki. We're going to talk about everybody on the Forbidden Door card that we know of so far. So yes. And if you didn't know, the rumors are true. I am joined by the Enter the Noise Gate champion. He is wrestling fan Chris, the notorious KRS. What's up, Chris?
What's up, Mike? Good to be back and ready to discuss some forbidden bags.
Yes, there is never not a lot going on in the world of pro wrestling, so we have so much to get to on this episode. But first, that's right. It is about that time. We appreciate your support and would love to grow our community of wrestling fans. Here are some ways you can help us achieve that goal. First, we kindly ask that you show us your support by liking and subscribing to this podcast. By doing so, you will never miss an episode, and you'll be the first to know about our latest content. Next, as you already know, we are available on several platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. If you haven't already, be sure to check us out on these platforms. Be kind, subscribe, and leave us a review to help us reach a wider audience. Thirdly, we are active on social media. You can follow us on Twitter at WWrestlingPod and on Facebook. We see you, Facebook followers. We encourage you to follow us there and join our community of wrestling fans, the Watch Wrestling Gang. And lastly, if you feel inclined to support our podcast financially, we have 3 tiers up on our Patreon page. You can choose the Foundation tier, the Click tier, or the Gang Affiliated tier, depending on how deep you want to stick that debit card in. Your support will go a long way in helping us produce the high-quality content and growing our community. So check out what the game has been missing. Remember to be kind, like, and subscribe, and we look forward to not having any problems in the future. Right, Chris?
Absolutely, that was great.
All right. So let's get into the actual show now here. So, AEW Collision debuted this Saturday. CM Punk returned officially. So, let's start with that. So, we saw the return of CM Punk to AEW television, as the very first segment of Collision on TNT was a promo from Punk. Obviously, everybody was buzzing about this one, but before the event even happened, people were buzzing because of the article that came out with ESPN, where Punk, his first official statements, not through intermediaries since the all-out controversy and backstage brawl that everybody so far has claimed that they're not legally allowed to talk about. So the interview came out on Friday. Like I said, it was ESPN, and people were talking about it, I guess, according to Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer. People were talking about it backstage at AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. Everybody was worried about the things that Punk had said in the interview, specifically about Hangman Page, because the funny thing is they keep not talking about the one issue, which is the physical confrontation that occurred after the all-out scrum, but Punk finds a way to talk about other stuff, you know? So the Hangman stuff seems to be not part of that sort of non-disclosure, whatever agreement that they're not allowed to talk about. So Punk talked about Hangman. Ultimately, what was published in the interview wasn't really anything that bad, but Dave Meltzer said afterwards, or Brian Alvarez, one of them said afterwards that what was said in the interview was not all that was published. So Punk getting people talking before the show even happened, getting everybody to fight with one another, per usual. So then we get to the actual show on Saturday. Punk, like I said, first segment of the show was Punk coming out, got a huge pop in Chicago. He comes out, and he's wearing some wrestling shoes around his neck, and he's got a little red bag with something in it that he comes out with. And overall, I thought this was a pretty good CM Punk promo. I felt like he had to kind of dip his toe into the controversy of why half the wrestling world is either mad at him or hates him, but he, also still had to be CM Punk, the character, I guess you could say, on TV to talk about what he's allowed to talk about and the actual stories that he's supposed to be talking about, which is kind of the problem in the first place, was talking about other stuff, I guess. And the big line in this promo, which, man, I was going nuts when I heard this one. He said, Warner Brothers CEO David Zaslav calls him One Bill Phil. Wow, One Bill Phil.
All right.
Because he's the only genuine article in a business full of counterfeit bucks. Wow. Counterfeit bucks. I hope he wasn't talking about Okada bucks. Those Rainmaker dollars that fall from the sky. No, so I think this is probably all we're going to get, from Punk if they're really not allowed to talk about it. And the other thing from the ESPN interview was that it's not going to be turned into a story like so many things these days do get turned into a story. So I think that was Punk's way of just kind of saying he's One Bill Phil. I guarantee you no one calls him One Bill Phil, right?
Absolutely not.
Because the insinuation there to me is the bill is $1 billion, meaning, the rumored $1 billion, whatever, 5-year deal, 5-year deal AEW got with Collision, and with Punk being the anchor point, I guess, of Collision. He's One Bill Phil. But I tweeted out on our Twitter at WWrestlingPod, which you definitely need to follow us on Twitter. Check out what the game's been missing at WWrestlingPod. I tweeted out, this is David Zaslav's email auto reply. I am away from my desk. I have a meeting with One Bill Phil. He cost me $1 billion, but he's the only genuine article in a business full of counterfeit bucks. So I will respond to all emails when I am back at my desk.
First of all, I want to say that's a good line. I like where he was going with that. I read Meltzer on Twitter say that he didn't like the line because of some stupid, bucks. Are they the young bucks like animals, not dollars? You're wrong, Meltzer. That's a great line. I like that he said it. But I would have to venture a wager that David Zaslav has no idea who CM Punk is. And if he does, he does not know his name is Phil.
No, I think he does know who CM Punk is, because CM Punk, they probably did get $1 billion from Warner Brothers Discovery. David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, the guy making all the decisions about things like HBO Max, canceling that Batgirl movie that was already basically made, switching up the whole DC universe, all this stuff going on at DC and Warner Brothers and Max.
Yeah, he's the big guy. I'm sure he was like, yeah, we can here look at the ratings and stuff and all the ads. And was like, that's cool. We can give him some money. But I don't think he was like, man, that guy, CM Punk, that's why we're going to give him money.
Well, I mean, he basically, Dana White would say CM Punk is a needle mover. That's the word Dana White would use whenever there was a fighter that everybody would gravitate towards. He would be called a needle mover, like Roman's shirt that says needle mover.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, one Bill Phil, he's the only genuine article. So there you go. Like I said, it's probably all you're going to get about the actual friction with the Young Bucks. I mean, hopefully that's all you get. If there really is unresolved issues there, we don't want the truth to power voice of the voiceless here going too hard on his EVPs, even if he is one Bill Phil.
It's a good point. And I mean, I hope it's the last we hear of it because I mean, I guess we're like more evolved wrestling fans now, but I just think back to like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart when they were kind of like going at it and saying all these like backstage terms. And when I was younger, I had no idea what the heck they were talking about. So I didn't care about it at all. Now I watch it and I love it, but I'm like, hopefully like that's a good line, or that's a good line that he said. And the Bucks and Kenny Omega, like being happy with the CM Punk sucks chance months and months ago. That stuff is cool, but let's just end it at that.
Well, especially if you're not going to work together, right? You're just all you're gonna do is create, more potential issues, I think. But you can't avoid it completely, like Tony Khan does, in interviews, especially if you're CM Punk, So
you're right.
So he also said in the promo, he said that anyone who thinks he owes them an apology, he is sorry that they are as soft as the wrestlers they like, which was a little convoluted, a little I mean, really, because the people who he would owe an apology to would be like other wrestlers, right? Like the fans. I don't think you need to apologize to any fans.
Yeah.
So the wrestlers are soft as other wrestlers that they like, maybe. But just it was CM Punk barb, but I don't think it had the effect that the intended effect. So, but yes, Punk coming out very unapologetic in his hometown of Chicago. He kind of needed this, even if he is going to try to put all of the backstage drama behind him and get the internet talking about kind of what he does on screen, I guess you could say. He still wants to be that, like I said, truth to power, unapologetic guy. So you kind of got to say, like, everybody who doesn't like me can kiss my ass, right? In one way or another.
I think he did that. I think it was done well, even if it was, like you said, like those CM Punk barbs and convoluted and a little bit too cool. Like Punk gets on my nerves sometimes because he thinks he's so cool, especially in Chicago. Everyone loves him too. I get a little annoyed, but I think he did his job and it was pretty good. And I'm ready to move on, at least myself, and ready to see him wrestle and just see where this goes.
Right, which we did, which we'll get to.
Yep.
So, yeah, so like I said, he didn't exactly turn the real-life drama into storyline, but he did try to recenter the story on his character, which is someone who speaks truth to power, doesn't care if he pisses people off, so he may be trying to mend fences behind the scenes, but he's got to give us that element of controversy on screen, which is what he's good at, so... Yes, he then mentioned that he was carrying something in a bag. He didn't really say what it was, but he said that nobody beat him for it, and he was going to keep carrying it around until somebody pins him or submits him for it. So the wrestling shoes around his neck were supposed to symbolize him, people thinking that he should hang up his boots and retire, and he's not retiring. So that's why he wore those out to the ring. So I guess it was supposed to symbolize him not being done yet. So...
Ugh.
So, yeah, Punk carrying a bag. Like I tweeted, he was carrying a bag. I don't know if it was the bag. We'll see. I don't think he wants the bag. So we'll see if, Punk ends up ever showing us that AEW title or if it's just going to be kind of like a don't look in the bag thing.
Yeah, like when, oh, God, never mind. I was saying like when Rowan had that, like, cage and no one could look into it.
yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be. I would have never thought of that ever. I never would have thought of that. I mean, again, in my life, unless you had said that, I would have never, that stupid thing would have never crossed my mind once again in my existence if you didn't say it right now. I guarantee that.
That's a weird thing that I thought of then, honestly. I don't know why.
But yes, what I was going to say was he probably won't reveal it until he kind of gets back on track, brother, with MJF, right? With whenever he ends up. It seems like he was supposed to wrestle MJF before the big blow up happened, and he got injured and all that. And now it seems like Punk and MJF is we're going back to that in one way or another.
I'm okay with that.
But yes, so Punk did come back in the main event and wrestle, which crowd loved this match. But just before we get to the main event, some other notes from Collision. Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness, excellent on commentary. JR is taking some time off to heal. That's how good of a night he had at Collision.
Yeah.
No, he had a collision. Unfortunately, he fell down and hurt himself and still showed up to the show in Chicago, and his voice was just hoarse. So he going to take some time off. I mean, JR at 71, especially if you have a fall. I mean, I don't know if it's that important.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing is as important as your health, obviously, at any age. But yes, hoping JR takes some time, and I mean, if he's able to keep going to shows, that's fine. But obviously, don't want JR to hurt himself, risk hurting himself, or anything bad with his health, just to continue to be on TV.
Yeah, definitely not. And I mean, Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness are very good as well. They don't need anybody else.
Yeah. Andrade coming back. I tweeted out that he came out in a putty mask. It's a weird mask for Andrade. Not the normal black mask, entrance mask. But Andrade, he wins his match against Buddy Matthews, which this was a great match. I tweeted out that these guys had the potential for, a 5-star classic. And it was a very good match. I think people sleep on both of these guys. And yes, Andrade wins with a figure 8. Andrade to WWE confirmed.
Or is that Charlotte to AEW?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's what it is.
No, I think you're right. I mean, this is the kind of match I wanted, like on SmackDown, like 4 years ago. I was like hoping for this every day, or like when Paul Heyman took over Raw for like that 3-week period. I'm like, this is what I'm hoping for.
Right, exactly. Yes,
I got it.
Yes. And we had the Outcasts losing to Sky Blue and Willow. Toni Storm did not get pinned, but she's the AEW Women's Champion. So we had the AEW Trios Champion, Buddy, losing, and the AEW Women's Champion, Toni Storm, also losing. Not in non-title scenarios. Weird.
Who's booking this? Vince?
Weird booking. So then, yes, we had the trios. Oh, also Luchasaurus just won the TNT Championship from Wardlow. So we don't really have enough time. We don't have enough bandwidth to talk about poor Wardlow and how many times he's been derailed now.
Yeah.
I mean, even if Wardlow regains the title, even if, Christian turns on Luchasaurus, wins the TNT Championship just to set up a big pay-per-view match where he loses it again to Wardlow, it's still... I mean, Wardlow's title reigns here, each one,
Yeah, the only time that Wardlow's going to matter again is if he goes for the world title. And I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
I mean, maybe. I mean, it would. I mean, at this point, you might as well do it now.
Yeah.
So, but yes, the Trios main event, CM Punk, FTR, a.k.a. CMFTR, taking on Samoa Joe, Jay White, Juice Robinson, and this was a really good trios match. The place came unglued when Punk and Samoa Joe faced off, and Samoa Joe hit Punk with some chops that were so loud they had like a popping sound. Did you hear these chops in the match?
It was wild.
Oh my God. Like these guys hit each other hard, they chop each other hard, but these chops were like if there was like a chopo-meter, Samoa Joe is at like 1,000, If like when you go to the arcade and they have those punching bag things, like...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it sounded like he popped a light bulb or something on CM Punk's chest.
And he looked so pissed off. and like he was just like so angry and swearing at him, and like I had to like go back and look because I was like I thought they were like buddies. I think they are and like real. I think they are like close friends from their time in like ROH and all this, and I think they stayed friends. But I'm like I didn't believe it. I like did he? I don't know because those were some chops. He was angry. He was swearing. I didn't know what was going on.
Samoa Joe is so awesome. The moment Punk came out, and it's just they put the camera on Samoa Joe, and he just looks so unimpressed. You know, like all the history these guys have, all the buzz they created back in the day, and here we are again. Now they're doing it in front of this not full, but very full arena of people on TV. You know, one bill Phil making all the money, and Joe is just like so unimpressed by. He's forever unimpressed by anyone else around him, and I thought it was great. Just to get back in there, he's just like whatever. But yeah, great back and forth with Samoa Joe and Punk. Like I said, those chops were just out of control. Dax is running around. I thought that Jay White and Juice Robinson did a good job in this match as well.
I was going to say the same thing. Especially Juice Robinson. Like, maybe I haven't seen enough of him. I know I haven't since he was in New Japan, but he is really a well-rounded performer. I really like him a lot.
Yeah, and this just felt like a big match, you know? Like going into Collision, I was thinking about WCW Saturday Night, right? Because it's Saturday Night Wrestling show, even though that was on TBS for those that watched it. This is on TNT, obviously, but this was Saturday Night was definitely like the B show. It was like random matches. It was just random. But this seemed like a can't miss show, and I'm wondering if that's going to keep up, you know, as time goes on every week with Collision as they go to kind of, let's say, smaller places than the United Center, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be exactly like this, but I remember when Sunday Night Heat started too, and it was like a big show, storylines progressed, Triple H was on it, and you know if Triple H is on it, it's serious. And then it just devolved quickly, so I don't think that's going to necessarily happen to this show, to Collision, but I'm hoping it stays like this, because if this is the kind of show I'm going to get every Saturday with these wrestlers, you know, these type of guys, I'll be very excited.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see if they kind of try to make it where some collisions are can't miss, and then on other weeks, maybe if there's something else going on, either like a big boxing or UFC or WWE or whatever else, something that everybody else is kind of going to watch if they kind of don't really put that much emphasis into Collision that week. It's all new, but even I really liked the entrance ramp. It just seemed like it was just such a cool, the way they did the lighting. It just seemed, a lot of times, whether it's AEW or WWE, it just comes off as just like a giant screen, you know? Like, remember when WWE had that like half pipe LED screen that was the entrance for Raw?
Horrible.
It's just like, it just sometimes comes off as like, and when WWE first introduced like the floor being an LED screen, like it just almost seemed like when you're playing the video game and you're trying to create your own like thing, and it just all looks like wallpaper, like, but it was just like LED screens, you know, like on the wall, on the floor. It just looked like the person just looked like this little thing on a screen. But this entrance ramp, they've figured out how to make the different screens not be kind of too much, you know? And I like just even like the lower thirds on the Collision. It just seemed like especially during the match, they had their little graphic going, like the little video playing on the entrance ramp. Yep. So it wasn't just this like still image of like the AEW logo or whatever, or the show logo. It was like something kind of going on in the background. And I just thought the whole look of the show was great. And yeah, we'll see, like I said, if it ends up being a B show, or if it can kind of, if AEW can kind of establish Collision as sort of one of the bigger wrestling shows of the week, you know?
Yeah.
So, one thing I thought about Collision was that they didn't even announce any matches for next week's Collision. Like, you would think, I'm watching this show, why should I tune in next week, you know? It's one thing to say, this is the big first show, we're just going to have a big match and a big conclusion, and CMFTR win, and they're, you know, the show ends with them holding their, you know, just holding their head up high with a victory. Well, what about next week? Nobody came out and attacked them. They're AEW right now. They always find themselves in these spots where they're trying to promote all of this stuff in a short period of time. So, like, they're trying to do Forbidden Door. I mean, they didn't really set up anything for Forbidden Door. They still have time, but they didn't really set up anything for next week, really, as far as, like, CM Punk, the main event scene. Are we going to see MJF on Collision? You know, it's all kind of still, some of it's still a mystery. So we'll see where they go from here with that. All right, so now let's talk about Forbidden Door. So AEW and New Japan are putting on their second Forbidden Door show this weekend, so we have got to talk about it. We are recording this show before AEW Dynamite on Wednesday and obviously before Collision on Saturday, because now that Collision is a show, there's going to be the sort of go-home show for AEW on Saturdays. So we're definitely, if they're going to be booking matches for the pay-per-view on the go-home show, well, no one's going to be able to talk about those matches in their preview podcasts, okay, Tony? So you got to give people time to plan their podcasts here.
You know, he really doesn't have any. Come on, Tony.
Come on, Will Washington. Get these things buttoned up here. No. But yeah, I would imagine they're going to just plain old announce some matches on Dynamite. Yeah. Probably some 6-man matches, just some random people. Random matches with obviously no backstory will be announced. But then they'll also probably book some angles where we figure out, for example, CM Punk and FTR, are they going to be wrestling at Forbidden Door? We'll see. But the matches we do know about are good enough. So I couldn't believe this one when it was even announced. The dream match of dream matches. Bryan Danielson taking on Kazuchika Okada. Let's start with this one. So what did you think when you heard that Okada was going to wrestle Danielson at Forbidden Door?
It's literally a match that could actually get me to buy it and see it. Like, I want to see it that bad. Like, especially in this era. I know AEW doesn't have it, but with WWE on streaming and you can watch all their pay-per-views, like, those kind of things don't make you, like, excited anymore to, like, run out and buy something just for a match. This one does. It's a match that I never thought I would ever see or even hope to see. So for this to be happening and easily accessible is pretty insane.
Yeah, and so we learned about this one at Dominion. Claudio and Moxley were there for a tag match, or a trios match, I can't remember. And they basically said that they train with the best in the world. Moxley said he trains with the best in the world, and the best in the world has delivered us a message. So Danielson, running through the desert, says that he's going to take Okada to the desert where there is no rain. Leave it to Danielson to make an ecological reference for his Forbidden Door match. There is no rain at Forbidden Door, apparently. Rain does not get through the door.
Yeah, like, are they wrestling in the desert, or is it in an actual ring? Because it might rain.
I hope it doesn't rain in the ring.
That would be wild, yeah.
So then we had Danielson on commentary for several weeks, randomly, just talking about how could Okada surround himself with people like, you know, the best friends when he surrounds himself with people like Claudio and Moxley and Wheeler Yuta.
Good point.
So yeah, so not much story needed other than the fact that Danielson wants to wrestle Okada. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, sign me up now.
Yeah. So obviously this is the main event in all of our hearts. But the rumored main event for Forbidden Door 2 is likely to be the rematch from the match of the year from this year's Wrestle Kingdom. Kenny Omega, the best bout machine, taking on Will Ospreay for the IWGP United States Championship. This, another one, is probably going to be a match of the year candidate. Definitely looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I think anytime that Kenny Omega is in a rematch with someone, especially if the first match was like 5 stars, you expect it to be even better, and I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they have a high bar, but I think everybody is expecting them to have a better match than they had, because Meltzer was saying after that match that the two of them, Omega and Ospreay, were actually holding back. Like, they were actually saving some for future matches. And it's just a crazy thing to consider, you know, after that match, but we'll see.
I fully expect them to go to another level and still hold back, because there's got to be a 3, maybe a 4. You have to play this thing out the whole year until Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, it could go. They could do this match, obviously, and then they could do a trilogy at, you know, maybe All In. Seems like a possibility there. Do it in Wembley Stadium. Then you somehow get to a 4th match where at Wrestle Kingdom, maybe they have their final encounter. And yeah, if you're definitely considering that there's going to be another match, even if they do it now and then they just wait until Wrestle Kingdom, how would you, who would you have go over in this match? Wrestling booker, Chris?
Oh man, so like I don't want to hotshot the title, but then it's like, do you want Omega to go up 2-0? Does a third match even matter if you do that? So that's kind of, but do you really want Ospreay to win it back? Then does Omega even deserve another shot? And I think you mentioned this when we discussed this at other times. It seems like a time limit or some sort of draw would be a good way to keep this going.
Yes, we talked about that previously, where I told you that I think that one of these matches could easily go to a time limit draw, just to extend it so that with the 4th match ends up being the rubber match where they each get one win over each other. But we just saw a time limit draw with MJF and Adam Cole, which was a great match.
Good
but
point.
They just did a 30-minute match, so you're going to just do it again. And Omega's already done that with Bryan as well. So I was originally thinking that, yes, this would be a great match for a draw, but I would say at this point, I am booking Will Ospreay to beat Kenny Omega at Forbidden Door and take the IWGP United States Championship back through the Forbidden Door to New Japan.
So I think that's a pretty good idea, though, because what you don't want to do in these, I think, is always have AEW go over, especially in like title kind of matches. So if Ospreay wins, that kind of signals like, hey, anything could happen on this Forbidden Door show. So get prepared for next year.
Yeah, so all in all, it's probably going to be a great match. Looking forward to that one. Like I said, it probably will end up main eventing the show. Another match that we learned about last week on Dynamite, Tanahashi is going to be challenging for the AEW Championship against MJF, allegedly, if MJF decides he wants to.
Did I need a third match that I want to see more than anything in the world? No, but I got it.
This is a random one, but, you know, my question was, with MJF being kind of preoccupied with Adam Cole, well, what would he do at Forbidden Door? Would the AEW Championship be defended at Forbidden Door? And yes, because Tanahashi can just pop up on our screens whenever he so chooses and challenge for whatever championship he so chooses, and we will just say, okay.
Exactly.
Sounds good to me. So yeah, MJF versus Tanahashi. MJF, when he was told about that, said, no, he doesn't feel like doing that. He's not going to do it.
Which is a great reaction.
He called New Japan an indie fed.
We'll see. We'll see how that sets up, because you know he's going to do it.
We'll see. We'll see if they book an angle where MJF no shows his match. Maybe he'll get a plane ticket.
Oh, now we're going deep.
So yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I'm curious to see where they go with that. I'm curious to see if we get any face-offs with Tanahashi and MJF before Forbidden Door, or if we're just going in cold here to this one.
It probably will, because I remember last year when Tanahashi was on, I think he was on Rampage, right? Right before Forbidden Door. So hopefully he's here. Hopefully we get something.
And a completely random matchup that was announced for Forbidden Door. The IWGP World Championship is going to be defended as well because Sonata is defending the championship against Jungle Boy. What do you think about this matchup?
I mean, this is random to me. I mean, I think that Jungle Boy is very capable in the ring, though. He's a good wrestler, so it'll be a good match. But this is just out of the blue. Does anybody really think Jungle Boy has a chance?
There's always a chance on any given Sunday.
I guess so.
I mean, did Yota Tsuji have a chance against Sonata in April at Dominion? Or I mean,
Well,
in
okay.
April, Dominion. Not in April. At Dominion? Did Takahashi have a chance at Wrestling Dontaku in March? Let's see. When was the last time Sonata defended? In April? Against Okada? Oh, that's when he won the title. At Sakura Genesis in April. So, two title defenses so far. According to Cage Match, the Internet Wrestling Database, Sonata has beaten Yota Tsuji and Hiromu Takahashi. Been in a lot of 5-man matches against Los Ingobernables de Japan.
I mean, it's going to be a fun match, though. I think it's going to be good. It's another match that's going to be, like, these 4 matches are going to be high quality, I would venture to say.
I think that on any other night, I would say Sonata and Jungle Boy have a chance to steal the show. Even if they don't exactly have the best match, they can just leave you kind of remembering their match as one of the big moments. But God, it's going to be so difficult for them when you have Omega and Ospreay and Okada versus Danielson. You know?
Yes. I just don't understand. Yeah. I'm like almost speechless about these kind of matchups. It's going to be crazy.
Another one, not exactly a lot of build-up here. But, yeah, the 2 championships will both be on the line. Sonata defending against Jungle Boy, MJF defending against Tanahashi. And as we're recording this, unfortunately, that is all we know for sure for Forbidden Door. But there will obviously be more matches than that. One match that I think might happen, Orange Cassidy and Zack Sabre Jr. seems like maybe a title-for-title match or just maybe Orange Cassidy's championship. The International Championship could be defended. But those two have been kind of talking to each other, you know. So that could be something we see.
Which would be pretty good, too, because, I mean, Orange Cassidy, very impressive, very strong champion. We love Orange Cassidy on this podcast. And Zack Sabre Jr. has always been top tier, so.
Last year at Forbidden Door, Sting and Darby teamed with... who did Sting and Darby team up with last year? Shingo Takagi, I believe. And they were called, like, the men... the cool, like the dynamic dragon dudes or something. I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, so we could see a lot of matches like that where, maybe someone like Hiromu Takahashi, Shingo Takagi, who knows? Who knows? They haven't really given us much. We don't know CM Punk. Is he going to be in action? The rumor was Kenta versus Punk. Finally going to happen. The next rumor was that Punk didn't want to do that. So, I mean, it would be nice to have that match, but it's not. I think you can still have Kenta wrestle somebody else. You can still have Punk wrestle somebody else, and it's no big deal.
Yeah, that's fine. And I hope that Kenta does wrestle someone else because I'd love to see Kenta.
Yeah, for sure.
The actual Kenta and not Hideo Itami, whatever the hell his name was.
Hideo Itami, the NXT
yes.
superstar.
Yes. Ugh.
Yeah, no, not his best days. But yeah, so we'll see what Dynamite brings, and now we'll see how much they do on Collision the night before a pay-per-view. It's just an interesting thing. SmackDown is the same way, where with WWE you have that show the night before the pay-per-view. Usually everything is already kind of set in stone with WWE. So we'll see if AEW does that with this Wednesday. Probably be some incoming New Japan talent. Like we saw Will Ospreay attack Kenny Omega at the end of Dynamite. That was an awesome closeout to that one. The Young Bucks, we don't really know what are the Young Bucks gonna. Are they gonna just wrestle? Kyle Fletcher and Jeff Cobb. I don't know.
All right.
There you go. Well, because what's his name is injured. Kyle Fletcher's partner.
Yeah.
So yeah. So not a lot to go off of aside from the big marquee matchups at Forbidden Door. But yeah, give me Sting and Darby versus Naito and Bushi. I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah, that's fine.
We'll see if we see any of these younger New Japan guys, like Yota Tsuji, Master Wato, all of the guys that they're focusing on now. We'll see if they put him in there against, AEW talent.
I'm sure they will, because I remember, like you said about those multi-man matches. Last year, I just felt like I watched like Rampage or the Dynamite before, and I was just like, wow, there's like 12 matches here. I didn't know there was these like 6 other ones sprouted up.
In this case, it's not that big of a deal because you've got Bryan and Okada. Just close it. You can just close the Forbidden Door after that. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
So they do have that where it's like a 2-match card, essentially. So yeah, so we will see what goes down at Forbidden Door. We will be back next week on the podcast to recap Forbidden Door and all everything that goes down, everything that goes through the Forbidden Door. We will talk about on this podcast. All right, so now let us get into some of this Bloodline drama. The saga continues, and it seems like the island has fallen because this past week on SmackDown, Roman Reigns was back on SmackDown, so that was a big deal in and of itself, and demanding an answer from Jey Uso after Jimmy Uso turned on the Bloodline, went to a different island, not the island of relevancy. But yes, Jimmy Uso. Where did Jimmy Uso actually do? Was that at Night of Champions, the super kicking Roman?
Yes.
Yes. So Jimmy Uso leaving Jey Uso in the lurch to kind of decide between his twin brother, his other brother, or his tribal chief. And his tribal chief. So Jey Uso came out last week on SmackDown and just said, like, I'm not deciding anything, which is like this Bloodline story is great and it's going to last for probably years longer. But the funny parts are the off weeks where the only development is Jey Uso coming out and being like, I'm not deciding this week. Bye.
Long-term storytelling.
Yeah, really long term. And then we finally got an answer, though. So this was such a good segment. Just another incredible chapter in this Bloodline story.
They're all so good at doing this.
Yeah.
They're just, it's amazing how it's not exactly the same. It's not like recycled, but it kind of is in the same vein of other things that they've done with the Bloodline, but they're all just adding little nuances to it. They're all just so good at playing all of these roles. But I hope it never ends.
Well,
honestly,
it probably will never end, so you're in luck.
Yeah. Okay, like talk to me in like 6 months when I'm sick of it. But for right now, I've loved every moment.
Yeah, so we finally got an answer from Jey Uso where Jimmy Uso comes out and he's got this like angry, like kind of like, I don't know, how would you describe Jimmy Uso? He was like detached,
Oh, that's good. Detached, yeah.
And Jey Uso comes out and he kind of starts going in on his brother, Jimmy. He kind of starts saying how, like, first of all, they're twins, but somehow Jey Uso had to get told when they were younger to listen to his older brother. And apparently they called Jey Uso Josh when he was a kid. They said, listen to your brother, Joshua.
Oh.
They didn't say, listen to your brother, Jey Uso.
Oh, that's weird.
So, yes, Joshua had to listen to his older brother, even though they're twins, like I said. And His older brother was the prom king. He always they set it up where Jey Uso was always in Jimmy Uso's shadow. But, well, what did he even say? What was the line he said to say why Jimmy Uso was gone? He said something like, "You left us, and then I had to step up," or something like that. But
oh yeah,
but yes, during that time period of the saga of the Bloodline, Jey Uso became the right-hand man to the Tribal Chief. He became main event Jey Uso. As we all know, that is how Jey Uso kind of established himself as a singles superstar and as basically a main event level talent. And it's the only reason why some people know still which one's Jey and which one's Jimmy now.
Good point. Yeah. Yep.
So here we are. Jey Uso is trying to tell Jimmy Uso that it's all because of the Tribal Chief. And he says, like, "You are out." And he goes, "But I'm out with you." And then super kick to the Tribal Chief from Jey Uso. This was great. This was like this wasn't a match, but this was 5 stars for sure.
I didn't expect it. Honestly, I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, oh, like I had that build up in me. I'm like, oh, that's good.
This is an all-timer as far as stories go. Like when you think about like we talked about Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, all these pivotal moments, in the story of WWE, Hogan and Andre, just all these moments, all the stuff where they like play it, in the intro of the show. These are those moments for right now with the Usos, Jey Uso deciding finally, even though we all saw it coming, we all of course Jey Uso is going to go with his brother Jimmy Uso. He's not going to go against Jimmy Uso. He's with Roman Reigns, the manipulating, narcissistic Tribal Chief. So every step of the way, we saw this stuff coming. And with the exception of Cody not beating Roman Reigns, everything they've done was still awesome. Like even that moment, like with Sami Zayn coming in the ring at WrestleMania, just super kicking Roman Reigns. That moment, even though they botched it afterwards with the ending of that match, it's like that is Sami's moment, right? To get back at Roman. And then obviously they actually won the match, even though he didn't pin Roman. But they beat Roman after that, for the tag team titles. That was another great moment. And now you have the Usos probably finally, separating themselves after both kind of siding with the Tribal Chief over each other at different points, questioning each other's loyalty to each other, to the Tribal Chief. Now it's kind of all out in the open. The Usos on one side, the Tribal Chief, and that follower, not a leader, Solo Sikoa, on the other side of the Bloodline Civil War. And they made it official right after SmackDown, on SmackDown Smack Talk, whatever the show is called these days. Definitely not talking smack. But
yeah.
They made it official. We get Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa versus the Usos at Money in the Bank. So that's where we're at with the Bloodline.
I was going to ask you, this has got to be, the Usos are out, right? This can't be another, I'm going to fall back in line kind of thing. They're got to be done. And I wonder if Solo's going to follow soon, because, that is their brother too. So who knows? Maybe he, like you said, he's the follower, not a leader. Maybe he gets sick of that kind of stuff and turns on Roman too. I don't know. But then what happens with Roman? That's the thing.
No, I don't think Solo's ever going to think for himself. I think if Roman Reigns stops being the Tribal Chief, Solo Sikoa is just going to follow whoever the next Tribal Chief is.
I was trying to think of anybody who that could be, and I couldn't think of anyone.
Paul Heyman.
Samu?
Yeah, what's his... never mind. Yeah, so they're calling it a civil war. So, that means one side can win and one side can lose. So, what happens if the Usos win? Are they the Bloodline?
Oh, good point.
Are there two bloodlines? Is it like the bloodline, red and black Wolfpack?
In multiverse of Bloodline.
Roman Reigns is the undisputed WWE champion, right? Is that what they're calling it?
Yes.
So he's probably not going to take a pinfall here unless they really want to do that to their champion of over 1,000 days, have him lose by pinfall, to his cousin Jey Uso. But I don't think they're going to do that. Poor Solo Sikoa, once again, you know why you're here, Solo. You're here
That's right.
to take the pin. No, I just think it's just funny how he just stands there, Solo Sikoa. He's had a couple good moments. The Money in the Bank. Which scene was it where he actually did hit Jimmy Uso with the Samoan Spike? That was good.
Oh yeah.
So he's got a couple of moments, but we'll see what happens at Money in the Bank. We've got the Usos against Roman and Solo. Yet another WWE pay-per-view. That title not getting defended. Has Roman defended that title since defending it against Cody at WrestleMania?
No,
right? Because he skipped Backlash, and then he wrestled at Night of Champions for the tag team titles.
Yep.
So we're probably going to go from WrestleMania to SummerSlam with no title defense by Roman Reigns, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. But yeah. It's all right, though. I mean, he's kind of run through everybody, so maybe let's...
Well, it's interesting that, obviously he's wrapped up in this feud with the rest of the Bloodline, which is great, but there aren't exactly any other contenders for Roman's title. So I would say that regardless of who wins at Money in the Bank, we're probably looking at Roman Reigns versus main event Jey Uso for the main event of SummerSlam.
That's probably true, and that's another... There's no way Jey Uso's going to win. So that's another, notch in Roman's hat, and then until we get a real opponent. Sorry, Jey, I love you, but there's no one's going to think you're going to win. So then it'll be like WrestleMania, probably.
Well, maybe it would be Cody, but, he's got a few more years. He's got, I believe, before he beats Bruno. He got a few more WrestleManias for Cody to wait, I feel like.
Man. Yeah.
But yes, they might not go for the full... I think Bruno's record is 85 years, isn't it?
Pretty long. I think 1,000 days plus is fine. I think that's cool enough.
He's going to beat Pedro Morales. It's good. It's long enough. No,
yeah.
We'll see. It's going to be SummerSlam, and then at Survivor Series, what's he going to do? Wrestle Seth Rollins, right, in a non-title match? It's just, they're going to keep it going with Roman. Maybe he'll defend it again at the Royal Rumble against Kevin Owens.
For the fourth time in the last 5 years. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this has been good so far, this Bloodline story, and it's how much can they get out of just these four guys? It's kind of remarkable how every pay-per-view it's just some version of a tag team issue with the Usos and Roman and Solo, and now they're finally going to wrestle at Money in the Bank. They're definitely getting creative and having Roman not defend this title, but that's what they have to do when they want this title reign to go on for ages.
They're lucky that the Bloodline is so compelling, because if it wasn't and we were subject to this kind of stuff, it would be we would all hate it. It'd be back to booing Roman, but it's so good that we can't.
Well, they do have a parachute, actually. If people did actually start to turn on Roman in a way that maybe the ratings went down, which they're definitely not going down. Roman is, I said, a needle mover earlier. He's definitely the needle mover in wrestling, Roman Reigns, for sure. So that's not happening at all. Everybody's tuning in to watch Roman Reigns and other stuff, but primarily Roman Reigns. Then they could always just say, okay, well, we're going to... Is it really a hot shot booking if it's been, 1,400 days? If it's okay, we're going to do it with Cody, now. Okay.
No, I don't think it is. You're right. It's not hot shot.
So Money in the Bank. We are going to be previewing Money in the Bank on our next episode. So we're going to be reviewing Forbidden Door, previewing Money in the Bank. We're going to talk about those Money in the Bank ladder matches, which there's been a lot of talk about who's booking who here, with Triple H and all the rumors every single week, pretty much just from Fightful, about Vince McMahon changing the story in the script. But it just seems like that's kind of, at this point, part of the process of producing an episode of Raw, I guess, is changing the script 30 minutes beforehand or drastically changing it. But, I mean, I don't know. I think that Triple H is definitely having a bigger impact than he had in the past when Vince was there full time,
Yeah, this Raw wasn't as horrible as Raws have been before, so.
Yeah, so let's get into that now. Let's just talk about a few things from this week's Raw, because I thought that overall it was actually a decent episode of Raw, and there's a lot of good talent on Raw right now that I actually tune in for, which is odd and weird.
Weird to say, yeah. Weird to hear.
So, opening segment of Raw, we had Finn Balor coming out and attacking Seth Rollins, who did not have the announced open challenge for his world championship. This was good. Finn Balor really, I liked that they kind of booked Finn Balor really strong here, just to come out and beat on Seth Rollins,
Me too, but it just makes me sad because he's just going to go back. After he loses to Rollins, he's going to go back to being kind of like nothing, which is so sad.
Maybe not. This is what I was saying with Triple H. Who's booking who? It seems like more of the Triple H people are kind of rising to the top here. Obviously, you've got Seth Rollins as the champion, Finn Balor feuding with him. This was the original Universal Championship program. So, but we also had the return of Tommaso Ciampa. I thought this was great. Even though it was a quick thing with The Miz, I'm just glad Ciampa's back. I'm glad he's not friends with The Miz. I'm glad he's not wearing those goofy colors. And yes, I'm all for Tommaso Ciampa. Fast track him to the title. Put the strap on him, rocket to the moon. He wins King of the Ring, wins Money in the Bank, wins the Royal Rumble, finish the story. Tommaso Ciampa, Hall of Famer.
I mean, that's not good. Yes, I agree. That's all going to definitely happen. But no, he is definitely a top tier Triple H guy. So I'm glad for having to come back and beat The Miz like that. It's great. Even though beating The Miz is nothing. I'm glad that's basically saying, I'm done with you, Miz. I'm my own wrestler. We're done. Get me in the Rumble.
Yes, we can win.
That's right.
Ciampa versus Brock Lesnar. Book it. Thank you. Bye. It's a freebie. You can have it. Also, Logan Paul showed up on Raw on Monday. And, this Money in the Bank match I thought was pretty much set with Damian Priest getting the final spot last week. But then Logan Paul, this asshole, is on Raw up at the top of the ladders with the Money in the Bank briefcases with a spotlight on him. So I think I could have just muted my TV after that point and I would have been fine.
See, we're getting into scary territory now because we've discussed this match before and how much we enjoyed the participants and how, who knows who's going to win, and anybody that wins the briefcase will be exciting. There's no Canes. There's no Otises, there's no Madcap Mosses, and there's no one who's absolutely definitely going to win. But now we're getting into what if Logan Paul wins this? Oh, no.
So Logan Paul is in the Money in the Bank ladder match, which means he's going to win it, right? It's not.
I think so, yeah.
He's going to win. We can stop pretending, right? Stop lying to ourselves. But the problem I have with it is not that he's undeserving. Brock Lesnar won the Money in the Bank by not even being announced and just coming out and taking the briefcase in the match. If Logan Paul was in that match, it would have been fine. The problem I have is that the way the Money in the Bank matches, both the men's and the women's match, the way they have been booked and set up is that it really is a field of contenders on both sides that are all relatively deserving of what the Money in the Bank, briefcase could do for them, right?
Yes.
So LA Knight, a lot of people's favorite to win the Money in the Bank, not anymore with Logan Paul in the match.
Ugh.
Damian Priest, He's obviously on the upswing in WWE. He would have been a great Money in the Bank winner, you know? So, and of course, none of that matters because Logan Paul is in the match. So, like I said, he will win the match. And, yeah, I do believe that he will cash in that Money in the Bank briefcase at some point and probably beat Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. So
I don't like what you're saying at all.
I
think you're right, and it makes me very sad.
You know, I'm sorry, but I don't see how we're going anywhere else with this.
Do you think that maybe they're trying to outsmart people and Logan Paul's in the match, so we all think he's going to win, and then when he doesn't win, we're even more excited about it?
That'd be great. You know, have somebody come out and start a feud with Logan Paul that's not in the match, just to say, like, I hate Logan Paul, so I'm going to come out and I'm going to pull his leg off the ladder at the last minute, you know, whomever. Madcap Moss.
I don't care who it is either. You're right, that should be great. But I mean, it does make me a little bit more excited to watch the match just because I hope he doesn't win. So, I mean, kudos to them. That's what they're doing. But I think you're probably right.
I mean, there's upsides, right? It's Logan Paul. He's in a ladder match. Ricochet is in the same match. It could be good, you know.
Yeah.
We'll see how Logan Paul does in the match. He's done some high spots. He's not afraid of, you know, jumping off the top rope onto a table.
Yeah.
Onto KSI. So maybe KSI will be in the match too.
Maybe he comes down. He disrupts Logan Paul and they feud.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's upset that Logan Paul did that giant frog splash onto him.
It could be. Oh boy.
And on the woman's side, Trish Stratus is in the Money in the Bank match, so less confident in this statement, but she's probably also going to win. Right?
Yeah. Probably. Which actually as much as I think that there are more people in the match who deserve it more, and they're more apt to be contenders, at least if Trish wins, it's nowhere near like Logan Paul winning. At least Trish is a legend, Hall of Famer, and then she'll be fun kind of being an a-hole with the briefcase, at least for a little while.
Yeah, I think that Trish, being a legend and a Hall of Famer, can use the Money in the Bank briefcase to sort of get heat as someone who, like, you know, you've already done everything. You don't need this. You know, somebody else could have had it, like you just said. She could use it to get, like I said, a lot of heat. Obviously, Logan Paul can as well. I just like Trish a lot more than I like Logan Paul, so I can kind of see it better on her side of things. But yes, I feel like Trish could use that Money in the Bank briefcase instead of being the person that gets over by having the briefcase. She could get over someone else because she's a legend, and, you know, let's say she cashes in on whatever. If it's Becky Lynch, might have the title at the time. Maybe she cashes in on Rhea Ripley and just gets her ass kicked. That would be great, right?
Oh, yeah.
But we'll see. Speaking of Rhea Ripley, the Judgment Day is in every story on Raw. These guys are like the NWO. They're on the entire show. And I don't hate it.
I don't either. It's about time. I like it. I think that's another Triple H thing, like you were saying earlier. Yeah. His influence is felt throughout the show. And I also like a through line in a show sometimes that's not just talking or like building to the main event, which is nice, but I also like that, hey, they're a faction. They're gonna in the building and they're gonna be doing shit all episode. Get used to it.
Yeah, when it's not done terribly, that is an important thing that does help the show overall. When there's something going on, you know, across the entire show, it's not just 15 segments that are completely all disconnected from each other, you know?
Yes.
So you've got Rhea Ripley. First of all, give me Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez already. That's going to be great.
I know.
Could book that one on the USS Intrepid. Have a body slam contest.
Hey, it is the summer.
Can Rhea body slam Raquel? No. Can Raquel body slam Omos? No, but yeah, that seems like she's like a credible challenger for the women's world champion Rhea Ripley, I think. But yeah, Rhea Ripley, she's getting in there. She's like a main event person now, you know? And she's got Dominic Mysterio with her, who gets a lot of heat in WWE, you know, but he's wrestling Cody. So, for one, that's just, it's kind of derailing Cody a little bit. They're trying to bring Dom up to the level of, like, you know, everybody else in the Judgment Day. But I don't think putting him in there against Cody is the way to do it.
Yeah, it's hard because Dom's great and he gets a lot of heat, but he really is just because he's like Rhea's like lapdog, you know, his follower. Like, that's why he's cool and he's great at doing that. So I think you're right. It's not bringing him up to Cody's level. It's kind of watering Cody down a little.
Yeah. But, you know, they're everywhere, those two. And then, Corey Graves mentioning Rhea Ripley's Instagram, which you can all check out on your own time. But, you know, obviously, Damian Priest, he's in the Money in the Bank match. Finn Balor, he's challenging Seth Rollins for the World Championship at Money in the Bank. So they're all in basically big matches at Money in the Bank. And like I said, they're all over the show on Raw, which I think is kind of cool because I just don't feel like if Vince McMahon was in charge of everything, I just don't think he would have the consistency to even stick with something for one full episode, let alone, you know, like he wouldn't invest in putting the Judgment Day in all of these segments where they're all kind of in the spot at the same time, you know? And then, you know, they can all kind of talk about it with each other on screen. It's not just they're all happening independently and no one's talking about it. But yes, I feel like this is evidence of sort of, these are mostly Triple H people as well, right? Finn Balor, Damian Priest. Maybe not Dominic Mysterio, but.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure he's getting there because of just being associated with Finn Balor and Damian Priest. I'm sure Rhea Ripley is a Triple H, definitely from NXT, yeah.
Yeah, I would, you know. But you see that across the whole Raw roster, like I was saying earlier, with Seth Rollins, and you've got Kevin and Sammy still being heavily featured. You've got Imperium, right, which we've got to talk about Samantha Irvin for a second here. I don't know why I am so late to the party on realizing how great of an announcer she is, but just the way she announces Imperium, it's so funny.
It's great. I was loved listening to it before we started recording this show. I was like, you love Ludwig Kaiser, but I like the way she says Giovanni Vinci. That one gets me. I like that one.
Let me see if I can play this. Like last night on Raw, and we're recording this on Tuesday, it was just the way she said, the Intercontinental Champion Gunther. It's like, oh my God. And, you know,
yeah, she says that great too. It's
the way she says, Ludwig Kaiser. And Ludwig Kaiser is great. Like, he walks into the back and just interrupts Kevin and Sammy and goes, ladies and gentlemen. Like, he's just so obnoxious and full of himself, but it's like he knows how obnoxious he is, you know?
Yeah, for some reason he has, sorry to everyone with this kind of hairstyle, but that haircut really adds to it. He has obnoxious guy hair.
Just like the way he walks, the way he holds the mic, the way he introduces Gunther. It's great. Imperium is great, and I'm glad they are heavily featured on Raw, for sure.
Absolutely. More Triple H guys, really.
Yeah, Giovanni Vinci.
I love the way she says that.
You know, because they don't really put her on camera when she's doing it, so you hear it and you're like, what is she doing? And then you watch like the YouTube shorts and everything, and she's just completely going nuts. It's great.
Tip of the cap to her. Yeah, she's good.
So, we got anything else that we want to talk about on this episode?
I don't know. I think we're good. I don't know. You excited for Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker?
Oh, yeah. We've got to wrap this show up so I can go pop some popcorn and get ready for Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker. Seth Rollins defending the World Championship on NXT. Do I have that correct?
Yeah.
Do my notes deceive me here? Seth Rollins taking on Braun Breaker?
I mean, Danielson, Okada, Ospreay, Omega, Breaker, Rollins. Let's go.
There we go. What a week it's going to be. No, I think that that match would have been a lot better suited by just, bringing Braun Breaker up to Raw.
Yeah.
But they're trying to get us, they're trying to trick us, see? They're trying to make us think that NXT is a third brand of entertainment. But Triple H told us in his interview with Ariel, when Ariel talked about Dynamite beating NXT in the ratings so many times, Triple H said, well, they beat our developmental, So which is it? Hunter, do you want us to watch NXT every week, or is it just your developmental, and we can watch developmental if we want?
Yeah, if they wanted it to be a third brand, do you remember when Adam Cole was there? Remember those times?
Yeah, do you remember Keith Lee?
Keith Lee, yeah. Remember when Hit Row was actually cool?
Remember Leo Rush as the Cruiserweight champion?
Oh.
So much.
Get excited.
Yeah, the Undisputed Era.
Yeah, come on. That would have been cool. That's a good third brand there.
No, there's
Johnny
a lot.
Gargano mattered.
Yeah, Johnny Gargano, remember him? Yeah, I hope that we do see a reuniting of DIY on WWE television.
Fine with me, they should.
But it won't be on NXT because I won't be watching NXT. So.
It's just developmental, that's why.
No, I mean honestly, if there was some type if DIY was in a match on NXT, I'd obviously watch it. I hope that they don't go back to NXT though.
Yeah.
So yes, that about does it for this episode of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. Be sure to subscribe to the Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to be kind, like, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. By subscribing, you will always stay up to date with our latest episodes and be the first to know about our newest content. So like I said, that about does it for this episode. And what does this button do?
Unknown caller.